introducing our host for this evening, Mr. Jeff Morris. He is the founder of CareerDFW and CareerUSA.org. He has been instrumental in helping folks that are unemployed, underemployed, folks in an active or passive job search for a number of years. He's actually been running these websites for over a decade. And an interesting nugget of information, he is a hilltopper from Western Kentucky University. So one of the greatest mascots in all of sports is the hilltopper. And so just wanted to throw that out there, Jeff, and welcome. And we look forward to tonight's presentation. Thanks, Jeff.
Great. Thank you much, Jed. Thank you very much for your allowing me on. Just FYI, for some reason, too many people must be on Facebook right now, so we're not able to broadcast live on Facebook. So, but I am recording this session and I will upload it to Facebook and upload it to our YouTube channel at the end of this thing here. And I was at Western when Big Red was initiated. So I don't know if that dates me or whatever, but when you said that I've been doing this for over a decade, I feel very old right now. So yes, I was at Western when Big Red was invented. All right, so
fantastic mascot.
Let's see here. So what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to tell you a little background about me, how I got started doing this, how I got involved in the career game. My background has nothing to do with careers or any of that kind of stuff. We will tell you a little history about CareerDFW, CareerUSA. We will take a look at the websites live, and then I'm going to share some of my career tips. And if you have questions, I'll stop a couple times throughout this presentation and ask questions. If you do have questions, probably the best thing to do is go ahead and, if you can, put it in the chat box, and that way we should be able to go and, in fact, let me go ahead and get the chat box open. That way, where did it go? It didn't go anywhere. Okay, so let's just move on here. So my background, I've spent 20 plus years in light manufacturing, producing at the beginning videotapes, but for some reason you all got fascinated with those round shiny discs. And so we had to shut down the VHS business. After that, I was in printing press accessories, got back into the videotape duplication business, got into bathroom remodeling for a little while, went into the last position I had was in producing high dollar curtains. So light manufacturing, doesn't matter what it is, a widget's a widget, it's manufacturing, it's, you know, managing the processes and the people. In 2007, I started facilitating and I lead the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. The guy who was leading the group at the time got a job and said, who wants to take over? I think I did this. He said, okay, Jeff, you're it. So just whenever we ask you to volunteer, be sure to sit on your hands. So I've been leading that group since that time. We meet every Friday morning from 9:30 to 11:30. One of the things when I was doing that I realized was there's not a sign as you drive down the street saying unemployed, come here this morning at 9:30 or come here tonight at 6 o'clock or come do this. Where were people finding out about all these networking groups that were going on in the DFW area? And there are a lot of groups in the DFW area. So I thought, okay, I need to go buy a website. So that was the easy part. I went to Google and said, how do you buy a website name? And it told me how to do it, and I typed in CareerDFW. I bought it. That was the easy part. The hard part was how to build a website, because I'd never done that before. So every time I gave my 30-second introduction someplace at a different networking event, at the end of it, I would say, if you know how to build a website, I need your help. Luckily, some gentleman at the DFW sales group of St. Andrews on a Tuesday morning said, I can help you. And so what you'll see and what I've learned to do over the last 12 years. So on November 17, 2008, I officially launched CareerDFW. 8 months after the fact, we became a Texas nonprofit corporation, and I did file with the IRS to become a 501c3. I thought it was very important that everybody know that we're a true nonprofit, that any donations coming to us are fully tax deductible, because there were some other career groups in the DFW area that were not 501c3s, and I just thought it was important to get that status. So it's not often that you are excited about getting a letter from the IRS in your mailbox, but I remember that morning, you know, going out to the mailbox and there was this thick letter from the IRS And getting it was, to me, quite a success because it's like a 32-page application. There's a 107-page instruction booklet at the time on how to fill out the application. So I feel pretty good about getting it the very first time. In September of 2012, I got invited to go to the White House Forum on Job Clubs and Career Ministries. It was sponsored by the White House Office on Faith and Community Partnerships. I don't know if it still exists anymore. This was a fascinating group of people. They found me about 30 days before this event. They had called one of the churches here in the DFW area because the Department of Labor was trying to condense and find every networking group in the country. They estimated that there were somewhere between 5,000 and 8,000 networking groups that are meeting, and they were putting together a website with a list with all these networking groups. So they called this church. This church said, "Oh, you need to get hold of Jeff. He knows everything going on in the Dallas area." So they reached out to me. They told me about what was coming up. I said, "I'll be there." There were 110 people from all over the United States. President Obama was out campaigning at the time, but we did get to hear from the Secretary of Labor. And it's really fascinating because it was nice to meet and see other people from all over the United States on what they're doing, how they're helping people, and it was really fascinating. But one of the things I learned while I was there is that there is nobody else doing a Career DFW in their city. There's no Career Chicago, Career LA, Career New York City, whatever. Everybody had their own little thing going on, but nobody was thinking about the bigger picture. So because of that, we were rebuilding the websites the following month here in Dallas. I decided to go ahead and launch CareerUSA.org to help people outside the DFW area. So what we did was anything specific to DFW stayed on Career DFW. Anything generic went to CareerUSA, and I'll show you both of those here in just a little bit. How do we survive? We survive by volunteers like you. You're the eyes and the ears of the website. If you see something, as they say something. If you see an event going on and you don't see it on the Career DFW calendar, let me know. If you know about a networking group that's meeting or a professional group that's meeting and it's not on the calendar, please let me know so that I can get it added. I'm the kind of manager that I'm going to share everything that's going on in the company with you. I'm not one of those managers who sits over in the corner and say, "Yeah, just go do your work." You figure it, you don't need to know this kind of stuff. I want to share everything with everybody. We have no employees. We have no full-time, no part-time employees. Everything I've done over the last 12 years has strictly been as a volunteer. I don't get paid. I don't take any money out of the organization. All the miles I drive, the speeches I give, everything is just, I do just to give back to the community. It's just something that it's my little ministry, I guess, to give back. We survive on donations. It helps keep us going. It pays for the business cards. Back when you were passing out business cards, you don't do a lot of that anymore. But the web hostings, the filings, the state and federal filings, whatever we have to do. And we ask that, when you do land a job, if we were of some help, please consider making a donation. And if your company offers matching donations, get your company to, double your donation. And if we're not on that list, please let me know. I've gotten us on a couple different lists for people who have landed and want to double their donation. The other way you can help too is I wrote this book a few years ago, What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. If we were meeting in person, I'd have these books to sell, and but you can get it on Amazon, but all the proceeds from the book also go to support Career DFW. Back when we started the websites, LinkedIn is very, very important. We started a LinkedIn group. It's just, LinkedIn is very, very important. If you go and you join the Career DFW LinkedIn group, you will connect with 12,000 other people who have joined the group over the years. There's a CareerUSA group. You can follow us on the Career DFW Facebook page, and if you click on subscribe or follow, anytime that we go live, you'll be able to see any of the live programming that's there. You can also subscribe to our CareerUSA YouTube channel, where we post a lot of the videos and stuff so that people can be able to go back and see prior events and other things that have happened. So let's take a look at the websites. Here is the Career DFW website. By the way, I will say this, it is in orange because I like orange. When you build a website, you can pick whatever colors you like for your website. I happen to love the color orange. I drink orange Fanta, orange or Sunkist. I just like orange, and so I love the old orange singular guy. So, you know, that's what we've got here. So we've got drop-down menus across the top here. You know, you saw here, there's a couple different things that sort of scroll through at the very top. There's a career tip of the week that changes every week right here in the middle, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. A couple things that I've added just because of what's going on right now. Here is a place where you can find all the webinars, teleseminars, and events that are going on, and I'll show you that calendar here in just a couple minutes. And if you know anybody who's just lost their job, you can click right here. And I've got a one page of different things they can download, a checklist on what to do if you just got laid off. So if you know anybody who lives outside the DFW area, or if you know anybody who's just gotten laid off, because it looks like everybody keeps getting laid off, you know, refer them back here and let them know that, you know, CareerDFW is here to help. We've got some great links. I thought it was important that you know that you're not the only person who's unemployed. So we added a place here to show who else is online. Every time that we go to a new page, that number will change. Over here on the right-hand side, there's a place right here. It says where you see how it changes to a hand. If you want to join the CareerDFW LinkedIn page, you click right here. It'll take you to the Join Now page. If you're already a member of the group, it will take you to the discussion page, and you can see what people are talking about. If you'd like to join the CareerUSA page, and you're welcome to join both, you click here and it'll do that. If you'd like to buy a copy of the book, you can click here and tell you some information on how to do that. And then here's how you can donate down here at the very, very bottom. All right, so let's go to the calendar, which is something that is probably the most used part of the website here. There's a couple different ways to look at things. We're going to look at the graphical view first. For all the guys on the group, on the phone call right now, or on the web call, up here at the top, these are called instructions. I know you don't look at them very often, but in case you need to figure out what's going on, you can click up here at the top, and all the color coding and everything is right up here at the very, very top. But here's what's going on in the DFW area this week. So starting the first event, earliest event right here at 7 o'clock in the morning. What's in gold is today's events. The red line, let's see here, I need to move down to get to the red line here. So here's the red line. This is the current time that we're on. So you can click right here, you can open something up, and this is what we're doing right now. We're finding out about CareerDFW and CareerUSA. Other events that are going on, you can click on something, you can open it up. Pink are job fairs that are happening. So there are some job fairs going on this week. They're all listed here. I will post any job fair that I hear about. And, you know, there are 2 job fairs that actually say they're meeting in a hotel. I would call first just to make sure they're doing it. There's a couple here. This one here happens to be virtual. I checked and they changed it from an in-person to virtual meeting. All these GOAT events, these are workshops that are free that you can click on. So like you can click here. One of the things that if you use a Google Calendar, you can click right here where it says copy to my calendar, and it will stick the event onto your Google Calendar for you. So you don't have to sit there and type all that information in. All right, there's a lot here. Going across the top here, here's today. We'll get you back to where we are today. You can go and you can look ahead and you can say, here's what's going on next week. If you click right here on this right arrow, it'll click and here will show you the events that are scheduled for next week. And you can click ahead another week and you can find something else is going on. Click back on today, it'll take you back to today so you can see where we are. You can print this calendar out, but I would caution you, you will kill a lot of trees. There are 8 or 10 different options you can pick to pick things out. So preview whatever you're going to do first, because you may not want everything. It'll print maps out on how to get to the locations. Just be very, very careful. This is the week view. The month view is a waste of time. For those of you who have a Google Calendar and use it, you know there's a 1-day view and a 2-day view. They don't give us the ability to call it up this way. I wish we could have a one-day view here. But of all the calendar programs I've seen, this by far for me is the best. But this last one here called the agenda view is very, very useful. What it will do is it'll show the very first event for the day and all the events all the way through the day. And then all you have to do is you can go click on something, you can open it up and you can see what's going on. It's in the same color codes as the titles are in the same color coding as what's on the CareerDFW calendar. Now, if you want to sort of cut things down a little bit, if you click on this little down arrow over here on the very right-hand side, there are several different layers of the calendar. So I'm going to go turn off a few things, and let's see here. So now what's going to happen is you see here, the list has gotten much smaller. Once again, you can still open things up. You can find out what's going on. If we go back to the week view, you'll see here now you're not seeing as many things. So you can go and you can turn things. If you want to turn more groups back on, you can turn things on. The calendar that I recommend everybody to look at is this one here that says webinar teleseminars. That's the link I had on the very front page of the website. When you click on that, all these purple events are online. So like you're going to see here that tomorrow the LinkedIn presentation is in gold because it's a workshop, but I've tried to also duplicate it on the webinar calendar so you can find out where to go online, how to get the Zoom link to be able to go and do that. So anybody that I know is broadcasting on double events, that's why you'll see the same event listed twice. But this webinar, teleseminar, radio, TV show, this one is all the Zoom events that are happening. All these blue events, I'll turn that off, these blue networking groups, those were groups that were meeting in person. None of them are meeting in person right now. So just be aware of that, but I don't want to delete those because at some point, I imagine those groups will get back going again. And I just didn't want to lose that information. So let me go back and I'll show you now. So if you click on the home page of the calendar, what you see here, we were looking at the everything calendar, but if you only want to look at job fairs or just look at special workshops, you could click on one of these layers and you would just see that one layer. Like I said, this webinar teleseminar one, this is the one that has all the online stuff right now. But when you click on one of these down here, you only can see that layer and you cannot add anything back in. So there's no way for you to call up or add in the other things like you did. You only can do that on the everything calendar. All right, the next tab over is the group tab. So this actually was the first page I ever built on the website. And you'll see here, here's a list of all the networking groups. These are all those groups that are in blue. Most of them are not meeting right now, so don't go to this page right now. These career workshops, these are the groups that were in aqua color. Those are workshops. Those are like 4, 8, 12-week programs. The first week is I just got laid off. The last week may be closing the deal, and in between is resumes, interviewing, other things, networking. All those are listed in aqua because you may want to go do it for an 8-week period and then you're done because you've gone through their lesson. A lot of them have a workbook, so you may have to pay 25 bucks or whatever to do that. Anything on my website, if it costs more than 10 bucks, I probably won't list it except for these, and it's because the workbook is like 25 bucks. Somebody said, Jeff, you know, I see this big list of events. Can you put them on a map? And I went, well, I don't know. Let me see. And of course, the map is not working again. Okay, this is a Chrome issue. Apparently, it works perfectly on Firefox. It works perfectly on Bing, and it was working perfectly this weekend. So it's if it doesn't work here on Chrome, try Amazon, try the other two. But since you're not really getting to leave the house right now, you don't really need to see those. The next list on here is professional organizations, and this is a list I highly recommend you check out. You're part of the ATD group right now. You know, this is a professional organization, but here are other groups in the DFW area that are meeting. This list is 18 pages long if you were to go through it. Go through, check them out, because these are where you want to network at. Now, a lot of these, they're not meeting in person right now, but they are having online meetings. And if they're having online meetings, You want to be able to go network with these people. My tip to these groups are, you want to call the president of the organization and you want to ask them, you want to let them know that you're out looking for a job right now. I'm planning on attending the meeting, and when they were meeting in person, who are the 2 or 3 people that I really need to meet when I'm here? Get the president of the company, the president of the organization, to tell you who the movers and shakers are, because now you have a reason to go to these events. All right, so that's everything. It's on the group tab. Let's see here. I've also got resource rooms, but everybody's now doing it online. Texas Workforce, if you're interested in phone numbers and how to reach out to them, you can do that right there. I'm mad about the map because I had it fixed this weekend. All right, the About Us section. Now, it's weird to put the About Us section in the middle of a website, but the reason I did that is because this is the end of CareerDFW, just these 4 tabs. The Resource tab, Tip of the Week, Job Board, and Humor section are all on CareerUSA, and we'll go there in just a second. But if you'd like to know just a little brief summary about the CareerDFW website, here this is. If you want to know about my trip to the White House, I've got a little blog right here that you can follow, and you can see about what's going on when I went to the White House. There's pictures, linked all the presentations, everything I could get hold of. I've kept a running blog about the history of CareerDFW. You can click right here. This You Said We Did. This is those comments that you send me. Thank you very much for putting the site together. It was really helpful. So those are those pat on the backs when it's 11, 12 o'clock at night. I should be in bed sleeping. I go there and I go, okay, this is why I keep the website going. And I appreciate those comments that are there. Our mission statement, our goal, we've been in the news a couple times, and I've got the news stories there. If you have a website, you are welcome to add a link to your website. Here, I've got a whole series of buttons you can click on here, different sizes, whatever you want to download. And there should be an email address pretty much on every page of the website. If not, here they are right here. There's 3 of them here. Currently, me, myself, and I handle all the information, all the questions that come in. So you're welcome to email any one of those email addresses. One of the 3 of us will get back in touch with you. All right, like I said, these other ones are on the CareerDFW website, and here's what it looks like. Now, I couldn't make this orange because I thought, well, CareerUSA, I got to keep it red, white, and blue. So that's what happens here. It looks just like the CareerDFW website. It's got the same information. We've got how many guests are online, career tip of the week in the middle. What do? I just lost my job. If you want to join the CareerUSA or the CareerDFW LinkedIn groups, you can do that right here. If you'd like to donate, all that information is on here. There are some RSS feeds if you'd like to use those down at the very, very bottom. All right, so here, if we go to the group tab, things are a little bit different because here on this group tab, we're talking about
a session. I'm sorry, sweetheart.
Around the country.
Okay.
All right, hold on here. I need to, let's see here. All right, so these are groups around the DFW or around the country. So if you clicked on DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth, it would open up CareerDFW. If you would click on Houston, it would give you a few groups that I've found via Google searches in the Houston area. Kansas City, I'm on a mailing list. They update their list every quarter. They've got like 15, 20 groups up in the Kansas City area. Those Lutherans up in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, I tell you what, there is a group meeting at every church, and some of the churches have got 2 groups that are meeting there. So it's a really complete list. It's a really great place to help network and how to teach you how to, look for a job. When I was in Washington, D.C., I met a gentleman who has a bunch of networking groups that meet at public libraries around the New Jersey area. They're listed here. And in Raleigh, North Carolina, other groups in other parts, Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Maryland, those are all listed here. Now I have San Antonio on here sort of as a joke because as far as I know, and as far as I've been able to find, San Antonio has one networking group that meets once a month on like a Thursday night, I think. And now I don't know if they're even meeting just because they can't get together. So, we're very lucky in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to have as many networking groups as we do because a lot of communities do not have that. The resource tab, this is really the bulk of the website. Here is where you're going to find hundreds and hundreds of files on what to do with your job search. What do I do? I just got laid off. Cover letters, business cards, what to do before, during, and after the interview, thank you notes, resumes, interview questions with answers. There's just tons of stuff. You can click here on career files. It'll open up and give you just tons of different information. The next link down here is a bunch of websites that have been recommended to me over the years. I don't get any kickback for any of these. These are just websites that people recommend, sites you may or may not be familiar with. You just, may want to check those out. And then if you're a veteran, there's resources for veterans. This is something I've had in the last 4 or 5 years that I've added, and just resources specifically designed if you're a veteran that you can call up and get some help with. The career tip of the week. This is also known as Jeff's pet peeve. All right, so I've told you I lead a networking group that meets on Friday mornings. And one Friday morning, a person came in and said, I had this great interview during the week. They wanted my references, so I gave them a list of my references. Do you think I should let my references know they may be contacted? So after beating my head against the wall a couple times, I said, yes, that would be a very good idea. I went home and wrote a blog that weekend, and that became the next week's career tip of the week. But most of these tips that I get now are tips from, I just got all over the internet. The current one is how to hire during a pandemic. And I posted this because this is really written towards for the point of view of companies that are hiring and what you should do. But I thought it's important for job seekers to go and read it because now you know what the companies may be doing. So it changes every week. These are 3 to 5 minute reads. There's some really great information. These are like those V8 moments. You'll read it and go, wow, why didn't I think of that? What a simple thing. I could have been doing that weeks ago in my job search. I do want to point out my favorite career tips, and they're all listed right here. These are the ones I really recommend at the beginning that you read. I think they're really, really important. I'm going to refer a little bit later to this name tag one. Later when I talk about name tags under career tip of the week, name tags, you're going to want to open that up to get to the template and stuff. I'm going to be talking about those. But these are just some of the important things that I think about. I just think are important to read. If you want to read all the old ones, they're all here to go back and read all the way back since 2009. So you're welcome to go back and check those out. I do have a job board on the website. And this is the only place you'll see a login place. You only have to log in to post a job. And the reason being is I want to make sure that if you start posting a job to sell Mary Kay cosmetics or electricity, I don't want those kind of jobs on the website. Or if you post something you shouldn't have, I need to be able to block you. But this is the only place you'll see a login. You can view anything on any page of the website. It's totally free. We don't collect any personal information. I just want you to have the information out there. So here's a job board. I don't like this job board. I'm actually working on a new one. This job board is actually written by some people from Russia, and I refuse to pay and allow them to come in and fix it. So there's some broken things on it over the last couple years. So like I say, I'm working on something new. If you, jobs only stay posted for 21 days. That's my rule. I want jobs to automatically disappear after 21 days. It's just, I want current, fresh jobs on there. So here's the most current job on here. Somebody apparently has found this outside the DFW area. So there's jobs all over the place. Connecticut, California, Florida, Ohio, Texas, they're all over here. So currently there's 705 jobs that are listed here. There's 30 of them on a page. I know there's another website that automatically worked their way in to dump in all their jobs on here. The easiest way to use it, don't use the search box, but come here to where it said where you see job board. If you click on job board, it'll open up and tell you, here's one accounting finance job. Here are 12 construction building material jobs. Here are 3 engineering jobs. If you click on that, you'll just see the 3 jobs in your area. So, and then you'll be able to say, oh, okay, well, those 3 jobs, let's take a look at those 3 engineering jobs. They are California, New York, and California. So for us here in Dallas, it's probably not going to be very beneficial unless you think you want to move. So You know, to me, that's the easiest way to use the job board, is just to go through this way and check it out once a week if you're interested. Like I said, I'm hoping to have a new board up maybe by the end of the summer. I've got somebody who may be helping me program it. I am not a programmer, so all this PHP, CSS, and CSS and other things are just above my head and pay grade. So I have to rely on somebody else to help me along with it. The humor section. If you ever get to work for me, I will always put out the Friday Funny. I think it's very, very important for people to laugh, had a good time at work. Now, if you go to this page during the week, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, you're going to see a pair of eyeballs that are going back and forth and looking at you going, why are you on this page right now? You should be out looking for a job. But after 5 o'clock, those eyeballs go away. And even if you do see the eyeballs, you can scroll down if you need to. And I've got jokes, cartoons, videos, other things on here. So I'm going to share with you my favorite cartoon. I should move it back to the top of the list to make it easy to get to. But to me, this is sort of my favorite job cartoon. I just think it's, you know, what's going on. So there's also other funny ones. Let's see what this other one is up here. Okay, yeah. Not quite as funny, but you know, so I try to post funny ones that I see. There's all sorts of, you know, there's a ton of them on here, over 100 of them on here. There's some videos on here, just all sorts of fun things to do. The About Us section is just like the About Us section on CareerDFW, so I wasn't going to duplicate it and have it on there a second time. You can on any one of these, once again, on these pages here, if you're interested in getting to LinkedIn, you can do there. If you want to get to their Facebook page, you can click here. We don't have a whole lot on Twitter right now, or there's a very little bit on Instagram, but if you want to get to our YouTube channel and see the videos that we recorded, this video will be up on the YouTube channel tomorrow at some point. You can do that. And like I said, if you're interested in donating CareerDFW, you can click on the P for PayPal or a little envelope, give you a mailing address and how to get stuff to us. We really appreciate that. So before I move on, is there any questions about the websites? If you want, just unmute your mic, or here I see we've got a couple questions here. Let me see here. On the calendar, how do you find the contact person, how to verify that they're meeting? I'll give you as much information I have. The IoT SIG group, I guess that's a group that meets the third Friday of the month. His name is Ed Hightower. You can look him up on LinkedIn, Ed Hightower. You can use my name. He knows who I am. And I think he's got his contact information there. Patty says, can you filter by location? What location? I'm not sure. You're talking about the job board or what? Give me more detail. Oh, for jobs. Yes, you can, but I wouldn't, because I think it's broken. It only shows a map of England. And that's why, to me, it's easier just to pick the category you want. And then it'll cut down the jobs a lot. And then you can just briefly sort of scan through and you can see what's there. The new job board, when I do get the new job board up and running, it will be fully functional, correct, you'll be able to see jobs by location. You can be able to zoom in via map, click on things. The program I found is really robust. It's just a matter of getting somebody who's technically inclined, who can do all the voodoo you have to do in the background and make it work. Any other questions before I move on? All right, so what I want to do the rest of this time is I'd like to just share some of my top career tips. I wrote this book a few years ago, and I'll sort of tell the story of, so this Friday group I've been leading since 2007. And 3 out of every 4 Fridays of the month, I bring in speakers. So over the last 13 years of doing this, I've brought in a lot of speakers, and I've learned a lot of things, because quite frankly, you know, you just absorb knowledge, you learn how the job search should go, what you should do, things you should really consider. So when I wrote this book, what I did was, and I talk about this in the foreword of the book, was there was a speaker who comes, and he presented in January to our group, and he said, you're not going to remember everything I say over the next 30 minutes or the next 60 minutes, But if you just take away one thing and do that, that's all I ask. Just take away one thing from my talk. Now, I don't remember what his talk was about, but the one thing I specifically remember from his conversation was he was talking about networking. And he says, if you're going to have a networking meeting, meet somebody at Einstein's Bagels, because at the time, coffee was only 99 cents and you got free refills. Being unemployed, there's a real savings. You can go to Starbucks or you can go to Einstein. So that was the one tip. So what this book is a bunch of one tips. It's 2 or 3, here's a tip and here's 2 or 3 pages on why you should do it. So some of the things I'm going to talk about are in the book. Some of the things are not in the book, maybe in book number 2 when I have to do another brain dump and write a second book. Okay, so where are jobs found? 5 to 10% of jobs are found on the internet. 10 to 15% of jobs are found using a recruiter. 75 to 80% of jobs are found through networking. This is extremely important right now, because think about there's 15 to 20% unemployment going on right now. Most people are going to job boards or going to the internet to try to find a job. And what's happening is, if you see something you're interested in, there could be 400, 500 people applying. I was on a phone call this morning and somebody said they found a job on LinkedIn, and they looked and 452 people had applied for this job already. But this person had an interview, and the reason they had an interview because they had networked their way into the company and had their resume dropped off to the hiring manager or off to somebody in HR saying, hey, you need to look at this person. So you've got to network. You've got to get yourself into the company via the back door. Filling out a online job application is a waste of time. If you're going to do that, you do that after dinner. You do that on the weekends. Don't do that between 8 and 5, Monday through Friday. You want to be talking to other people. Get out, network. At the time, it was going out and meeting people. I was always saying, be sure to check out your professional organizations. When I talk about all these networking groups, so back when we were meeting and all these groups that are in blue, these are all unemployed people. So what I would tell people is, you can, at the beginning of your job search, go to as many of them as you want to. But after you've done that, pick the 2 or 3 best ones and limit your week to 2 or 3 groups between 9 and 5, Monday through Friday. Nighttime, go to as many of them as you want. You want to be going to your Chamber of Commerce meetings, to professional organizations, wherever you can meet people who are employed. That's the important thing. There are a lot of great online groups. So I pointed this out. This is the calendar. These are the groups that have gone online. So since you're stuck at home right now and you've made your grocery run, you've gone and taken your walk around the neighborhood, here are some great events and great meetings you can click on. The Zoom links are there, or however you can connect with those groups. Find them, network, find the ones you like and go to those. And hopefully you'll come to my Friday meeting every Friday at 9:30. Check out your professional group. I already talked about that. I talked about how to leverage by contacting the president of the organization, asking for their help. Who are the 2 or 3 most important people? Who are the movers and shakers? Who should I be talking about? Because they'll know what's going on and can help you. You have the time. Now, volunteering is sort of different at this point. What can you do to volunteer? When you're able to get out and go to places, what a great way to meet other people and give back some of your time. You know, when before this whole pandemic, being able to get out and help people. All the stories I'm going to tell you tonight are all true. They've all happened. They've come out of my networking group. I don't make any of these up. But I had a lady in my Friday networking group who used to volunteer at the Texas North Food Bank 2 or 3 times a week. And she'd tell me, on Fridays when she'd come to my meeting, she didn't volunteer on Fridays. Oh yeah, I was at the food bank on Monday, Tuesday, and I'm going tomorrow on Saturday. And I used to get in her case going, you're spending an awful lot of time there. You really need to spend more time out networking. She said, no, it's good. I really enjoy being there. In fact, because I'm there so much, they've actually moved me into the front office. And so now I'm learning some new computer skills. I'm learning this system I've never used before. And they've said, so I asked her, I said, well, what's the name of the computer system? Oh, it's not Salesforce, but it's one of the other big, it's SAS or whatever. And she said, this is great because I'm learning something new. And so sure enough, 6 months later, she actually got a job doing and using the skills that she learned while volunteering. So you never know who you're going to meet, who you're swinging a hammer next to, who you're sorting food with. If you have time, find an organization and go out and help them. Now, I've stopped carrying a name tag with me because everybody in my house knows who I am now. I was carrying it for the first couple of weeks, but they've all figured out who I am. But when you do get out and you are starting to network again, you need to have a name tag. To me, it's very, very important to have a name tag. So I personally have 4 different name tags that I carry with me, and I have different name tags in different locations. So when I give a talk, I have a blue case that I have a name tag in. It'll have one of those top 2 name tags, the CareerDFW or the CareerUSA.org name tag on it. When I lead my Friday group, I use that lower left one that says Manufacturing Operations, 6 Sigma Green Belt. And when I do college nights, which I'll do for my Hilltoppers, I will go do that. And I happen to have a degree in broadcasting and meteorology. I thought I'd be a television weather person one day, but that just never happened. I did work at a TV station for a couple of years, but the TV station didn't have a newscast. So I wasn't able to be the last minute fill in when that was needed. So always carry a name tag with you. They're very, very beneficial. One of the nice things, here, when I went to the White House, so here I'm at the White House, the tag you see, that small white one there, that's only 2 inches by 3 inches, and the type is so small. Do you think anybody could tell you who I was 10 feet away from me? They wouldn't even know. That green large event EEOB tag, that's a toll tag. I imagine as I go through security, they hand these tags out, and they know that, they must have this big giant computer screen that has all these little dots on it following you throughout the building so they can see where you're going. But I wore my name tag at the time. This was the old logo. And I wore my name tag, and people would come up to me and they knew my name, and they go, CareerDFW, tell me, what is CareerDFW? So it broke down a whole barrier. So I always recommend, especially if you go to any networking event, always have one. I have a separate name tag that I keep in my Friday bag of stuff. I have a separate name tag that I keep in my car in case I forget my other name tags. I have another one in my Wednesday bag. I'm part of the practice interview team that meets on Wednesdays, that was meeting in person on Wednesdays, and now we're online. But a separate tag there, because I always want to make sure I have a name tag so people know who I am. And you can have multiple tags in there depending what group you're going to, like I pointed out a little bit earlier. Okay, always carry business cards with you. Now this is something that I don't do anymore because nobody at the grocery I want to get close enough to. And everybody in my house, once again, is sick and tired of me handing them my business cards. So I actually have stopped. I don't put them in my pocket anymore, but when I do go out, I do have them with me that I can throw in my back pocket. Take them with you wherever you go. You never know. I used to hand them out all over the place. I was lucky enough that my only trip to Europe, I got to go to Europe once. We were in Italy, and I handed out cards in Italy to people who I met from Norway, people I met from Italy, people I met in Italy. We're sitting in Rome having dinner out on the street, and there's a restaurant, and then here's our table, and then here's one more table, and then the street. And we hear this couple talking next to us. They're from America. They sound like they're from New Jersey. They have a thick New Jersey accent. So we strike up a conversation with them, and sure enough, lo and behold, they're from Plano, Texas. So here we are in Rome having dinner with somebody, a foot away from somebody from Plano, Texas. So of course, I gave them a card. We talked about it. I've been to the restaurant. They have an Italian restaurant up in Plano. So you never know who you're going to meet. Be sure to keep cards. Now this primarily is for the women, but some guys you got to be careful too. Keep ones you're going to hand out in one pocket and ones you're going to collect in another pocket. So my point here is, you never want to pull out a wad of cards and go, oh, hold on, let me give you, oh, yeah, no, this has got something on it. Yeah, here's a blank one, and hand you a blank card. Have your cards, have them in 2 different pockets. If you were to give me a business card, I'm going to put it in my shirt pocket. When I come home, I will take it out, I'll load it into my database, and then I'm going to throw them away. I do not have a stack of business cards by my telephone to the right or left of me. I just don't want to do that. If keep them separate, keep them nice and clean. Keep the back of the card blank to write on. Now I know there's a school of thought that you should put a few words in the back. And I'm okay with that. 5 or 6 words, maybe telling somebody who you are, but leave some blank space. Make sure that you can write on it with a ballpoint pen, you know, so it's easy to write on. Don't have it laminated on the back. It just makes it very, very difficult. What do you want to put on a business card? It's very, very simple. You just need a name, a job title, a phone number, your email address, and I would add your LinkedIn profile. That'd be the other thing for sure. If you have a logo or a catchphrase, you can do that. I personally print my own business cards. I use the Avery Dennison Clean Edge business cards. You get them from Home Depot, or you can order them on Amazon. And you just run them through your printer. And the nice thing about it is Avery's got 1,400 different templates that are available. You can go find a template you like, black and white or color. You can sit there, you fill the information in one time. You tell it what kind of card you have. You get the number 8347 or whatever it is. And it will then automatically take the one card, the one entry, and print it out 10 times for you. So I think it's, personally, that's what I like to use. There is another manufacturer called Royal Bright, but the cards are really flimsy and thin. So you want the thickest card you can get if you're going to print your own cards. Here is one of my cards. In fact, this is an old one. I need to update this slide because I no longer have that 972 number as a home phone that I finally got rid of. And so I've deleted the word cell in front of my cell phone. But I put my name's the biggest thing on it because that's the most important thing. I tell people I'm a manufacturing operation professional. I have a saying, better, faster, smarter. When I look at a process, if I can move somebody's workstation over 2 feet and it'll save them 2 steps 200 times throughout the day, I'm going to do that because that's going to increase productivity a little bit. Every little bit helps. Cell phone, email address, always put your LinkedIn profile on there so some people can look and check out who you are. I happen to have a 6 Sigma green belt, so I stick the logo on there. It is a conversation piece. And then I'm also promoting CareerDFW and CareerUSA, so I promote those also. Job fairs, to go or not to go? That's the great question. Well, right now there are no job fairs to go to. They're virtual job fairs, and I've heard they're sort of interesting. So a couple people have told me they've gone to a couple of virtual ones. I would maybe check them out. You never know what you're going to find. Back when job fairs were happening, though, the only reason to really go to a job fair is 2 reasons. One, you're bored, you have nothing else going on, you need to get out and meet some people. So you go do that. Number 2 is you go to a job fair because you know there's a company there that you're interested in. So they may not, when you get there, they may not have the job that you are interested in, but you could go there and, you know, when you get there, well, you know, I've applied for a job online and here's what job I've applied for. Do you happen to know who the hiring manager or who the HR person would be? You never know. You may get some contact information with them. Once again, when you go to a job fair, wear a name tag. Most people don't have name tags on, and this is a way that's going to help the recruiter make you stand out. The other thing is that when you go to a job fair, don't ever you can take resumes, but you don't hand out resumes. You maybe want to hand them a business card, and when you hand it to them, ask them, can I tell you a story? And tell them one of your star stories. Tell them one of the successes that you've done. Because now what you've done is you've told them who you are, you have shared your card with them, and you've told them a story about how you can help them with what they do. So when the person goes back to the office, they're going to ask, well, who stood out? Well, you know, there's this one person, they told me this really good story. Yeah, here's their card. That whole pile of resumes they get, I've always, when I used to do job fairs that talk about CareerDFW, I always wanted to take a shredder with me. And when somebody would hand me the resume, I would turn around and just put it right in the shredder because, and that's mean and cruel, but that's really the effect there. I mean, there are very few people that are getting jobs going to a job fair, but it's worth going to because you never know. All right, resumes. How long should your resume be? How about everybody open up your participant box and type in there, if you would, type in how many pages you think, not the participant, open up your chat box, I'm sorry, open up the chat box and type in there how many pages you think your resume should be. Just like to have an idea. So in the chat box, open up chat and just type in how many pages? 2, 2, 2, 2 and 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2 to 3, 1 to 2. Okay, so 1 to 2, maybe 3 at the most. Okay. There's no right or wrong answer here. It's just nice to sort of hear, what I like this last one. Patty said, whatever tell your story. I think you should have a 10-page resume. Everything you've ever done since you scooped ice cream back in high school, and put all the details on it, and every bullet point, every job, all the details, who your supervisor was, who you reported to, all the 8 or 10 bullet points of what you did at that job. Now, you never send that out, but what you do with it is that when you do see a job description, you then take that 10-page resume, save it, and get rid of everything that's not in the job description. Because if they don't ask for it, don't tell them about something you've done that they're not asking about, because you have got to cut your resume down to only talk about what it is they want. So there is no perfect resume. I've always wanted to, I thought a great fundraiser for CareerDFW was to get an MMA match ring and throw in all the resume experts in the Dallas-Fort Worth area into this ring, and it would be a knockdown drag out until the perfect resume came out. The problem is, what I want to see and what David may want to see or what Jed may want to see would be all different, because we're tuned to what's different. But the one thing that to me is so very, very important is that you've got to stay specific to the job description. So number one, you want to make sure you customize every resume you send out. Very important. Do not post your resume on LinkedIn. Because what if you post it, you're a customer relationship specialist, but they're looking for a customer service rep. Some HR person who's looking at that resume will go, it won't click in their mind, because who knows what else they're doing, what it is they're looking for. So only send out a customized resume. Number two, keep the details of the job description. I've talked about that. Every bullet point that you have on your resume has to have a dollar, a percent, or a number. You've got to show a result. A resume that tells me what you did doesn't tell me what you can do. And I need to know what you can do and what successes you've had. I need to know results. So when I look at a resume, it's very, very important to see results. So make sure that every bullet point, there's a reason for it. And I remember there was a admin that I was talking to, or all she was a front desk receptionist. And she said, yeah, I don't have any results. What do I keep track of anything? And I said, how many phone calls do you take a week? Oh, between 400 and 500. And how many people do you distribute those phone calls to? Oh, there's 23 people here on staff. I said, there you go. You handle 450 phone calls that is distributed to 23 people each week. There it tells me what it is you do, okay? So do that. Do not blindly send out resumes. Do not post your resume on LinkedIn, like I already said. Consider a one-page bio. Extremely, extremely important. I've got an upcoming speaker in July, Minna Brown, who's going to talk about the one-page bio. Excellent speaker. If you don't have one, you should have one. It's what you send out when you're going to have a networking talk or whatever, because it's a high-level document. And you can go on Google, you can find some sample ones out there. Your resume or bio is just a fishing hook. If you're not getting if nobody's calling you, you have to change the bait. Think about it. It's a little bit like fishing. If the bait's not working, you need to change the hook, change what's on the hook. So, consider changing things. Go on LinkedIn. What are other people who have your same job title? What keywords are they using? Keywords, very, very important. Okay, there's 3 books that I highly recommend. This first book called Be Sharp, and be sure you buy the second edition if you get it. This is about Minna Brown, by Minna Brown and Paul Asanoff. There are 2 parts of this book. The first half of the book is all about, tell me about yourself. How do you introduce yourself? How do you come up with a 30-second introduction? The second half of the book, to me, is much more important, and it's all about professional bios. And in the book, and especially the second edition, there's 30 or 40 different bios that are there, and she explains the science behind it and what should be on it. So I highly recommend that book. You can get it on Amazon if you're interested. I don't know if, half-price books will have them yet. Depends if people have got them, have gotten rid of them. But be sure to get the second edition. It has all those little squiggly lines on the side. The second book I highly recommend if you haven't done this is Strength Finders. If you don't know what your top 5 strengths are, it's very difficult to talk about who you are, because you want to talk about what you're successful at. And Strength Finders is going to tell you what you're successful at. And the whole point of Strength Finders, we had a speaker a few weeks ago at our North Dallas group about Strength Finders. And the whole key to Strength Finders is, yeah, you can focus on your 5 weaknesses. There's 32 strengths that Strength Finders has come out with. And you could focus on those bottom 5, but those bottom 5 are never going to be in your top 10. They may move up to be in the middle 15 to 20 range. You'll do a little bit better. But if you work on what you're really good at, you're going to become better at doing what you're good at. So concentrate on your strengths. And then the third book, because this is my presentation, I get to promote what I want to promote. I have to promote my book. Okay. Never turn down an interview. Take as many of those interviews as you can. Even if it's a job you don't really want, have those conversations, because you need the experience. The people on the other side of the table, they do this a lot more than you do. It's just like buying a car. Car salesman, they see a bunch of people walking in and they're really good at what they do because they do it every day. You've got to practice your interview. So a question I have for everybody out there is, in the chat box, if you will, type in, how many hours do you think you have spent on your resume? So working on your resume, fine-tuning it, how many hours, days, weeks do you think you've spent on that? If you'll put something in there, that'd be great. So Patty, I'm not sure if it's 2 hours or 2 days. No, how many hours? So I'm talking hours. 2 hours. You've only spent 2 hours on your resume. Okay. That's it. People have only spent 2 hours, 20 hours, hundreds. Each one's different and tailored to every opportunity. Yes, 40 hours. Okay, I've already had several interviews already. Okay, so my question to everybody now is, you spent all this time, 20 hours, 40 hours, 2 to 3 hours tailoring a specific resume to that. How much time have you spent practicing interviewing? That's my real question. So you spent a lot of time working on your resume. How much time do you practice on interview questions and being interviewed? I think it's real important that you spend, try to perfect it, because once they call you up, you can blow it real quick in a phone call. So that's sort of what my interviews tomorrow and Wednesday. Well, Patty, congratulations. All right, so never turn down a resume. Be sure to show up. Back when interviews were in person, show up at least 10 minutes early. Now that you're on, if you're going to be on a Zoom call or something, be on that Zoom call 5 minutes early. Okay, be there 5 minutes early. Don't wait until the last minute. By now, everybody should be good with Zoom and FaceTime or Microsoft Teams or whatever the other ones are that are out there. Practice, find out what people are using, ask the interviewer, what video software will we be using? And make sure you're good. Make sure the lighting is good. Make sure your background is okay. I've been looking at David's background to see what books he has on his shelf. That's what happens to me. I tend to look at people's backgrounds. You probably don't, you want people to focus on you. What kind of backgrounds? Let's see here. I've got a few other backgrounds I'll share here. Let's see here. Other backgrounds, I have my Dallas background I can show. If I'm really excited about something, I can show this. When somebody lands a job, I've got my donuts. I can go from Krispy Kreme. So, you want to just be real careful with what it is you do, and make sure you have a background that's, in fact, I don't like that background as much as I like this one. So, make sure you have a background that's not going to offend anybody or not going to, be in the way for anybody to do things. Let's see here. Be nice to everybody you meet. Now, you're not getting to meet anybody. You're not getting to go see anybody right now, but This is a very, very important person. Back when I was running the curtain company, we are the owner of the company who happened to live in New Orleans. That's why the company moved here after Hurricane Katrina. But she still had a house in New Orleans, and so she was going back and forth all the time. She kept firing our accounting person because she didn't like the way the books were being done, you know. And so that's where I learned all my accounting experience. I had to keep the company going. So I was constantly bringing in new accounting people, and I'd bring somebody in, I'd walk them through the facility, I'd drop them off at the owner's office when she was in town. When the interview was over, she'd buzz me, I'd go get the person, I'd walk them to the front door, shake their hand, and as soon as I turned around, the receptionist would give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. She made her decision already. And as I walked back through the plant, everybody else would go, oh, that person was really nice and friendly. They all knew who we were hiring for because it was the only position in 2.5 years I had to hire for. But, that person had a scowl on their face. They weren't very friendly, real important. Personally, I love to drive a forklift. Give me a warehouse and a forklift, stay out of my way. It's so much fun. It's my big bumper car. Well, try not to bump into too many things. So you may be coming to interview with my customer service manager or my purchasing manager, and I'll be out there unloading a truck, and you may not realize that I'm the final decision maker. So be nice to everybody you meet. You never know. Be prepared to answer these questions in an interview. These are some tough questions. Number one, tell me about yourself. This is sort of that opening statement. David knows what we're talking about here. This is your 2-minute intro, telling people your statement of enthusiasm, why you're excited to be here, what you know a little bit about the company, your educational background, and a couple things that you can do to help the company. Why do you want to work here? I have a speaker who, she's in HR, and everybody who she interviews, she asks this question. So why do you want to work here? And you can't say you want to work here because I need the insurance, and if you don't have a good answer to her question, you're done. She doesn't move you on. How much did you make at your last job, or that compensation question? That's always going to come up. Why'd you leave your last job? Nowadays it's pretty easy, just say reduction in force. COVID forced the company to close down. My daughter just got laid off. Today was her last day at IBM. She was laid off along with 25,000 or 15 or 25,000 other people. So it's not it's like, okay, next question, you move right on. But if you've had a tough time, if you got fired for something, if you have an interesting question, here's what not to say. At a pit crew interview once, pit crew being a practice interview team, I asked somebody, so why'd you leave your last job? Well, the company wasn't doing very well. They had 3 rounds of layoffs. I got laid off in the first round. And, then they had a second round and then third round, and the company's barely around anymore. And all I heard was, you got laid off in the first round, so you must not have been very, very important. All you should have said was, I got laid off along with a lot of people like me, or a number of people like me. You want to tell the truth, not the god-awful truth, okay? All right, answer questions. You've got to be real careful when you answer questions. So if you have a half-hour interview, you want to really you've got to limit your answers and be very focused. So I talked about that 10-page resume and 8 or 10 bullet points underneath each of the jobs. You need to have a story about each one of those, okay? So your 10-page resume now becomes a novel because you've now written a message or what you would say, a story about each one of those bullet points, okay? Now there's a couple ways to do it. There's a STAR method, which is situation, task, action, result, or you can drop the task and here is the situation, here's the action, and here's the result. Personally, I don't like those because what happens is people forget to tell me the result. They'll tell me what the situation was, what they had to do, and then they forget about what it is they had to do. So I like it if you flip it around and tell the result first. Now, RATS isn't a great name to say, hey, tell your rat story. That's not really a nice way to say things, but you want to tell the result first. But what I like is raw. What the result is, here's the action I took, okay? Because you want to talk, I need to know what you did and why we had to do it. One of the best things I've heard in the practice interview team was somebody said, well, there was this time where I increased our productivity by 14%. Would you like me to tell you the story on how I did that? If I'm interested, I'm going to say yes. If I'm not interested, I'm going to say no. My daughter happened to use that the other day, and the interviewer was extremely impressed with that, because the fact that she only told the result and said, do you want to hear a story of how I did that, led to, yes, tell me more. I want to know more. So just sort of be aware of that. Be sure to limit your answers to 60 to 90 seconds. Now, politicians are unable to do this. It's not in their DNA. So if you're not able to answer a question in 60 to 90 seconds, you may want to get a job as a politician. But you've got to keep the answer short. And the reason you want to keep the answer short is because if you only have a half-hour time for an interview, and your stories are 2 or 3 minutes apiece, you may only be able to answer 8 to 10 questions. You want to be able to tell more stories about what it is, what you've done. You know, if you keep your answers short, you can also always ask a follow-up question. You know, would you like to know more? Go into more detail. Did I answer your question? You know, have you had that similar situation here? You know, you want to turn the interview into a conversation, not an inquisition, okay? You've got to turn this into a two-way conversation. If you haven't practiced interviewing lately and you need help, the Dallas Pit Crew is available. David's part of it. He can tell you, he's one of the members of the interview team. They are now meeting virtually, so they can do interviews any day of the week. They just need a couple days notice. What will happen is you send them a resume and an email address, and you send that to, be sure to just send that into right here into the practice interview team here, and it'll let them know about what's going on. Send them a resume and a job description to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com, and they will schedule something with you within a couple days. It'll be a 2-person interview, probably 2 or 3 people doing the interviewing you. It'll last about 45 minutes. You'll get a recording because they record it using Zoom, and you'll be able to get the feedback. You get to watch yourself. It is extremely, extremely beneficial. So if you haven't practiced in a while, practice. Take your interviewing skills to the next level. If asked for references, be sure to let them know you may be contacted. I'm sure this has come up in the past. Let them know. This is a great sales tool. I've talked about it already about, yes, you should let them know, because if you can tell your references, oh, just want to let you know, I just had a great interview with XYZ company. The person who I interviewed with, his name is, you know, Joe Smith, or somebody from HR may be calling you. Here's what we talked about. As you remember, when I was at my last job, or when we worked together, this is what I did. You know, if you can happen to mention this story, that would be great. It's a great way to help sell you into the company. So be prepared, have references, be ready to go. Make it easy to be found. This is my other presentation I give. I talk about Jeff's top 10 pet peeves, things that I see job seekers do that really sort of make it difficult. Number one, you want to make sure you have a job email account. I think you should have a separate email account from the family account or your personal account. You don't want to have a John and Marriott email or the Smith family email account. You want John Smith PMP, John Smith Trainer, John Smith Texas, something that says who you are and what it is you do. Everybody's using Gmail. That really is sort of the up-to-date one right now. If you have a Yahoo account that tends to tell people you're in your 40s and 50s, I'm not going to ask, but if anybody has an AOL account, that tells people you're OLD. So, you know, just be aware of, you know, where you're coming from. In fact, the other day I saw somebody join, and it was their email address at aggienews.edu or Aggie something edu. So do you think somebody from Arkansas is going to hire you? No. If you have a Verizon account, if you're using a Verizon account, do you think somebody from AT&T is going to hire you? No, you don't give anybody a reason to strike you off the list. So have that generic Yahoo or Gmail account is one of the two that I believe in, what I like to use. Don't stop checking your job email account. Even when you get hired, this is the account that you've made all your networking connections with, all the people you met. I have like 10 or 12 email accounts. I have too many of them because of CareerDFW, CareerUSA, my work accounts, my look a job for a job account, my personal account. So you've got to be careful with what's out there and make sure they all roll into each other so you're not missing anything. But don't stop checking your job email account, even if you're employed, because you may have a company reach out to you that you talked to 4 months ago who's interested in talking to you now. Always check your spam folder. I had a gentleman in my Friday group lose a job because he had an Earthlink account. And if you remember, with Earthlink, you have to verify the email accounts. And he got an email from somebody in HR offering him a job, and he only looked at his spam account, which is where all the verifications went to, once a month. As soon as he saw it, he called up, and the person said, well, that was 3 weeks ago. We didn't hear back from you, so we offered the job to somebody else. So always check that spam folder. If you elect me king of email, I will force it that whenever you open up your email app, it will open up to spam, so you can quickly go, nothing in it, delete, and as soon as you hit the delete key, it would go to your inbox. So I'm running for office. Please write my name in on the upcoming ballot. Be sure you have a signature line with all of your details. I get emails all the time from people, and it just says Bob. Give me a call, Bob. Bob who? You want me to try to figure out who it is and what's going on here? So make it easy. Every email I send out has my name, my phone number. I put my email address in my signature line because it doesn't show up in the display name anymore like it used to in the old days. It just has whatever your display name is. I put my LinkedIn address because that way, if people don't know, well, who is this person? I look them up on LinkedIn and go, oh yeah, that's the person who was on that conference call with me the other day. I'm always promoting CareerDFW and CareerUSA.org. So every email I have that on there. And you've got to set up a separate signature email on every account you have and on your cell phone. So just because you have it on your PC doesn't mean it's going to be on your Apple account or on your Yahoo, the apps that you have loaded. You're going to have to replicate that on each one. So make sure you do that. Very, very, very important. It just looks professional. So here's somebody who sent this nice email to the North Dallas group. She took a contract opportunity, no signature line at the bottom, so I don't really know who this is from. So I go up to the header and I go, WSU Cougar 96. And well, I could have some Cougars in my Friday group, but I don't think they're 96 years old. I happened to get this email. This is in April 18th, so this is right after March Madness was going on. And I happened to see WSU is the Washington State Cougars, and Washington State University, she graduated in 1996. So I told Barbara, her name happens to be Barbara, I will use this in every presentation I ever give because this is what you don't do for an email account, okay? You want to make sure you have a signature and you want to make sure your display name is right. So here's a list of some display names that I've got on here, and just look on here, BR6OFS, oops. BR6OFSSC. That doesn't tell anybody who you are. Down here, tbcpa2@juno.com. Juno.com, you talk about being an old email address. Make sure your name is there. Jim Curry, Connie Loftus, Cecilia Young, Pamela Stewart. Make sure your name shows up. If you're not sure, send an email to a friend and say, hey, what my display name come up? And make sure it looks right. So I know a lot of people use Gmail. I'm not gonna make you raise your hand or whatever, but if you use Gmail, your contact information shows up at the very end of an email account. So if I were to send you an email, if I send David an email, I send an email to Jed and he's using Gmail, if he responds to me, by default, his signature line is going to be below my email. So will I see that? Because when I see my email, I stop reading because I know what I wrote. So here's a way to fix this. If you use Gmail, you've got to click on the little wheel and go down to settings, 4-step process here. Click on the little dot there to make your signature, to add a signature, add in your signature, whatever information you want to have there in the box. And I add a little space there, right? I put a little space right in here so I don't have to add a space when I add it in there. So put a space in. And then click on this little button right down here at the very, very bottom. Because what that will do is that will insert this signature right after your text and right after your email every time. It doesn't stick at the very, very bottom. There is a reason why Gmail does that, but that's a whole nother story. All right, get yourself on LinkedIn if you're not on LinkedIn. Here's a story that was written November 12, 2016. I love what this kid said. I did not make a LinkedIn profile for my friends. I made it to show people who I don't know, who I am, and what I am about. Very, very, very important. LinkedIn, you've got to have your LinkedIn profile ready to go. Spend time on your LinkedIn profile. Once you get it up and running, you're in great shape. Something else, don't use the LinkedIn generic invitation. If you're going to send somebody an invitation, be sure to send a personal note with it. I will not connect with anybody who doesn't send me a personal note. Okay? Hopefully nobody here has tried to connect with me already and just clicked on my picture and sent me a note. Always send that personal note. To do that, to make sure it happens, always click on somebody's profile, and then when you click on connect, it will then give you a place to write a personal note and do that. So this person sent me a personal note, didn't send me a personal note. So what do? When I'm kind and when I have time, I'll look at their profile. So this person has their profile information, their website name, their address. I don't care about their address because I'm not going to mail them anything. Their instant messaging and AIM, out of date, and a birthday. I'm not going to send a birthday card. What are the two things they're missing? They're missing a phone number and an email address. You want to make it easy for me to reach out to you. Make it easy. Now, if you're on a phone, this is Glenn Earl, somebody who I'm connected with, but I had somebody else look them up, was not connected with them. If you click on a phone, if you click on that connect button, it automatically will just send a generic invitation. But if you click on the more button, it will go and open up a second screen to allow you to personalize the invitation. So there is no excuse ever to send a note. If you elect me president of LinkedIn, I will force it. You have to type something in there because it's just, you've got to send a personal note. Why make that connection? Be sure to use a good headshot. Why would you take a picture and put something this far away? Now, this person happens to be this person actually is going to be our speaker this Friday at the North Dallas Career Focus Group. Jeff Crilly used to be with Channel 4, so he was talking about he was a news reporter. This is Gail. Is it Gail him or Gail her? This is Gail Houston, who is a professional recruiter at Intuit. Once again, these are one of those little tidbits that I will save and use at every presentation. Don't ever do this. Now, she put, her husband was serving overseas at the time. That's why she had that picture up there. But you want to put a picture of you on there, something that looks professional. And so you put a professional looking picture of you up there, a plain background. Just look okay. Now, if you have gray hair or no hair, you can zoom in more and just show from here to here. I mean, you just, whatever it is, it'll allow you to zoom in. But don't have a hand on a shoulder. Nothing looks funny. Take a picture, once again, that represents who you are. I use this all the time because if I don't know who this is, I will click on your profile to see who is this person. I'll remember a face more than I remember a name. Information interviews. Real important because this is how you network. Right now, you should be doing these twice a day. I'd say if you can get 2 information interviews a day, this is very, very important. The whole key to an information interview is you're finding out information about the company, and you never, ever ask for a job. Now, you can even do an information interview if you've already applied for a job. Just don't tell them you've applied for a job. What will usually happen is they will go and say, hey, well, I think we may have a position for something or something similar for what you do. Oh, really? Do you happen to know who the hiring manager is? Well, yeah, I think his name is Steve. Well, can you give me his contact information? I'd love to contact him. Can I use your name when I contact that person? The whole key to an information interview is to find out about a company, find out what you may be interested in. Eventually it'll turn around, they'll ask something about you. And at the end of one, always be sure to say, who else do you recommend I talk to? Very, very important. There's a great 5-page handout on the CareerDFW.org website. If you search for informational interviews in the search box and look for the file that says Dennis O'Hagan on it, the late Dennis O'Hagan, he passed away this past January. But if you look for his name, you'll see he's got a 5-page handout on there. It takes you step by step on how to do an information interview. I use it all the time, and I just use it over and over again. I keep it paper clipped so I can break the pages apart, and I put the page on the floor that I'm no longer using as I move along through the interview. It's how to handle everything you need to know for an interview. No doesn't necessarily mean no. No just means no right now. If you get turned down for a job, send them a nice thank you note, really appreciate the opportunity, whatever, and then mark it in your calendar for 60 days and contact them again. Because they may have hired somebody who talked a good game but can't do the job. They may have hired somebody who, man, this guy's an oddball. He doesn't really fit. Well, you know, we really did like Jed when we talked to Jed. And if you he sent me an email going, he's still really interested. Maybe I'll hire Jed. So, just be sure to, reach back out to a company after 60 days. You never know. I've had a couple people in my Friday group get a job from it. They didn't open the job back up. They let the other person go after, 60, 75 days. And they brought the other person right in with just one more interview just to verify that you were already you were the second choice. They just went with the other choice and they made a mistake. Don't compromise your values. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't steal. Don't just know that if I'm going to interview you, I'm going to do a Google search. And we all know that everything on the internet is absolutely true. There are no falsisms on the internet. So know what's out there about you. If you were to Google my name right now, Jeff Morris, you're going to find there's probably 12 or 13 of us in the DFW area. Well, there may be more now. This was a few years ago. 3 or 4 of us have very bad credit because they get phone calls trying to track down the right Jeff Morris. One of us happens to run an oil company. So know what's out there about you. Know what your name is associated with. Be honest with the interviewers. Personal grooming, well, you're at home. Do you need to wear pants? I don't know. Not really important. I'm in shorts. I'm not wearing any long pants right now. I guess I should make everybody stand up so we can look at everybody's below the waist right now, but I don't want to embarrass anybody. But if you're going to do an interview, look your best. If you're going to go to a job fair, dress the part, look professional. The story I happen to have here is I had somebody who went to a trucking job fair down in Grand Prairie. He said, "Yeah, I can drive an 18-wheeler. I'm gonna go to it just for the heck of it, but that's not really what I want to do." But he went to the job fair, and he said everybody there was in Western cut jeans and cowboy boots and big belt buckles, and he said they were offering jobs right and left to people. They were just handing job offers right then and there, and but nobody reached out to him. And a couple of weeks later, he got a phone call from one of those companies that he interviewed with, or one of the companies he met there. Went, "Well, we hired a bunch of new drivers. We need somebody to manage them, and we really, we thought you looked really professional," because he was there in a suit and tie. So, he looked the part, and he didn't look like the truck driver. So always, check. Nowadays, you really need to check and find out what the dress code is. You need to know what's going on. And I would say you want to dress up one level. Ties are really out nowadays, sport coats usually, but you need to find out. I remember I went for an interview once to a manufacturing facility, and the guy told me don't wear a tie. And I wore it anyway, just, I had a coat and tie on. he said, you need to take your tie off because we're going out in the manufacturing plant. I don't want you to get pulled into a machine. So, you know, I took it off before we went back to walk through there. So just ask. You don't need to pay for help. There are so many networking groups out there. There is free training out there. So, you know, I talk about just over my shoulder here. Every Tuesday, we have LinkedIn training Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Every Wednesday, we're doing interviewing sessions at 1 o'clock. We're on lesson 11 coming up this week of a 13-part series. All the old ones are on the YouTube channel or on Facebook. Resumes, we're reviewing resumes. We have a resume expert or two who will come. They share their resume tips, and then we actually review we'll review a resume online and point out things that we like and don't like about a resume. So we're doing that every Thursday at 1 o'clock. And then every Friday, the North Dallas Focus Group, we have great speakers. This Friday is free publicity coming up. I've got a labor law attorney coming in July, somebody talking about the one-page bio, and just some other great speakers lined up. So, you know, you can join us every Friday morning. All that information is on the CareerDFW calendar you can sign up for. Get out and exercise. You have the time. You got to get, because quite frankly, if you're sitting at your desk all day, you need to get up and walk around. You need to move around. I'm disappointed. I was going to walk this morning and it rained. And I looked at the forecast tomorrow morning. It's supposed to rain between 3 and 9 o'clock. So I'll have to wait and do my walk in the afternoon tomorrow. But, you know, get out and walk. You know, I'm not going to hire a lump. If you come in for an interview, I want to see somebody with some energy and vitality who's ready to go and get things done. So just a few job steps real quick. Steps in your job search. Number one, make sure your resume is up to date. Get that 10-page resume ready to go. Have your star stories ready to go. Update or create a bio, one-page bio. And this is something you want to pass out when you have a networking event. This is a leave behind. This is what you post on your LinkedIn profile, a one-page bio if you're going to post something out there. Write down your raw stories. Have them ready to go so when somebody comes up. And I really recommend put them on the index cards. Don't sit and type them out, because if you handwrite them out, it will stick it into your brain. The object is not to read them verbatim. The object is just sort of know the concept, so when somebody asks about this, you have a story ready to go. Update your LinkedIn profile. So join us tomorrow. Our LinkedIn talks tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and how to use LinkedIn in your job search and what your profile should look like. Find target companies. Where to go network at, using Reference USA, using A2Z.com. Those are both websites you can't afford to have, but if you have a library card, the city of Dallas, Plano, Frisco, you can access it via their website. So find target companies using Reference USA. I have a presentation on the CareerDFW and Career Facebook page, the CareerUSA Facebook page, about how to use Reference USA and how to find a target company. Who do you know? Who can you reach out to? You should be reaching out to old supervisors, old people you used to work with. Look through LinkedIn and find out who you used to work with 15 years ago. You never know where they may be now, who they can help you out. Reach out to them. You know, we're all stuck at home. We'd love to get that phone call, and, you know, we'll spend 15 minutes with you talking about what's going on. Do as many information interviews as you can. Extremely, extremely important. So just if you can, please join, please do that. Practice your interviewing skills. You got to be ready when the phone call comes in. So please remember, if you can, join the CareerDFW and CareerUSA Facebook pages. That would be great. Subscribe to the CareerUSA YouTube channel. You know, we survive on donations. When you do land your next job, if you would, please consider making a donation. All the proceeds from the book go to support CareerDFW. We don't collect any personal information. Our websites have been hacked twice. I don't want to know. You don't have to register anywhere. You're welcome to post a job if you'd like, but we're not doing anything. I'm willing to talk to any of the groups. Last year, I gave 21 presentations. I drove over 2,700 miles doing the pit crew and the Friday networking group and talking and giving interviews. So I'm willing to talk to any group that you're part of. If you're looking for a speaker, give me a call. I'm ready to, you know, answer questions. I know we're supposed to be done by 8:15. So that's my time. That's what I have to say. And thank you for having me.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for being here. I know we did have one question that I wanted to be sure that we didn't lose sight of. And I think this was from Cody. So Cody, if you're on, if you'd like to retype it, or I'm going to try to paraphrase what you said. I was actually looking through the chat, but his question was, were you able to capture statistics on how many people had identified as having been helped by CareerDFW or CareerUSA? And Jeff, as I asked that question, you mentioned that you don't actually collect information on the people who are visiting the site. So my guess is that you may have some anecdotal statistics or some feedback, but I'll let you answer the question.
Well, what Google collects, I'll tell you this, Google collects what kind of computer is accessing the internet, what operating system you're using, what version of the operating system you're using, what browser you're using, and where you're located at. But I don't know who you are. I don't know if you land a job. I've learned over the last 13 years of running the North Dallas Career Focus Group that 3/4 of the people who land just disappear. We never hear from them. They don't tell us they landed. We don't know about it. So I'm no longer offended by that. So there really is no statistics as far as who's helped. I do know how many people go to the website. Somewhere between 10 and 15,000 people a month go to the CareerDFW and CareerUSA websites. I am keeping track online. Currently there's 24 people online right now on this Zoom call. I am keeping those kind of statistics. I can keep track of on Facebook and YouTube. I know how many people are looking at the presentations we posted, and I am keeping track of when we are currently live. I know how many people are going live and watching us live on there. It is very disappointing to me that after 2.5 months of doing this, that, I feel that, not here because this is strictly for ATD, but for other events I'm having Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, that I don't have thousands of people watching, because when you consider that, 20% of the population is currently unemployed, those are millions of people. They should be watching CareerDFW. They should be watching this free training about their career, getting their life hopefully in a direction that they want to go. So my one ask to everybody who's online is that if you know anybody in the news media, if you know a news reporter or a TV reporter or somebody, tell them about CareerDFW. Tell them about the great things we're doing for free, that this word needs to get out to people. I'm an introvert. I don't tend to, for me to pick up the phone and call a news reporter, it would be very difficult for me to do. I'm good about this because I know what I'm talking about. I'm good about the career. I'm good about helping people with, what it is about their career. I'm going to teach you how to fish. It's up to you to decide if you want to go out and fish. I'll give you the skills and stuff. So I do have some statistics, but not a lot as far as who's landed. And I've gotten over the fact of not knowing those things. Occasionally people will send me a note. I just want to thank you for, I just recently, in fact, I got one tonight just before this meeting, somebody who's landed a job. He won't be able to be online this week because he's already started, but just wanted to thank me for the online training that's been going on. So that'll get updated, that'll get loaded up to the pat on the backs to remind myself why I'm doing this website.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, we thank you so much for being here tonight. I think everybody that was able to attend, as I think about, some of us have been in the job search for a while. It's a little easier to absorb when you've been doing this for a bit and you've had an opportunity to try some of these things, and you maybe have taken the advice. Like the first advice I got when I was let go of my previous company, a friend of mine said, get your information on Indeed and take a month vacation and just let the internet find your job for you. That did not work. And there are lots of statistics that will prove that. But guys, I will tell you this, if you are just getting started and you're overwhelmed, you think, oh my gosh, we just talked about so many things. This is all about taking the first step. It's all about starting with the resume, getting connected to other people who are also in the job search, people who've been where you are, who are maybe currently working. Don't sit in your house and stare at your computer and just get angrier and angrier about what happened to you. It's going to be important to connect with people. This is a great way to do it. These opportunities that Jeff is talking about, get on Zoom. You're going to find out that a lot of people are feeling the exact same things you're feeling. And if you don't know where to get started, give yourself a little bit of chance to accept what happened. And then when you're ready, you can step in. And I think CareerDFW.org is a great place to find articles on just about every scenario you can think of that you might be facing at whatever stage of the job search you're in. So Jeff, again, thank you so much for being here. Everybody, thanks for, I'm sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to show one more thing. I forgot to show a little bit earlier.
Of course.
On LinkedIn, think about your profile. Look what I did here on my profile. Instead of those generic backgrounds, I put my phone number and email address right up here on my header. So that way, anybody who views your public profile can reach out to you. Now, I will say recruiters are going to use InMail. If they're using, they're going to reach out to you via InMail. But for those people who aren't paying the couple $100 a month to use it, make it easy for people to reach out to you. So.
Yep. That would be the one thing. If you don't remember anything else, remember that. This is not a time to get overly obsessed with not having a presence on the internet. And if you don't have a LinkedIn account, that's where I would start. Is I would make sure that you get one of those as soon as possible, because even if you get an interview, very likely the company is going to look at your LinkedIn profile to see if it matches your resume, to see who you're connected to see what kind of references you might have, what kind of activity are you involved in out there. And not having a LinkedIn profile today is a big red flag for a lot of companies, particularly if you're going to work in technology. So everybody, we are right at 8:15. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. If you have questions for Jeff, he's got 3 emails on CareerDFW.org. If you have questions about ATD Dallas, certainly reach out to us. Go to tddallas.org at the website there. Ping Jeff or Jed or I, and we will do what we can to get you connected where you need to be connected.
You bet. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Phil, I know you had a question. I just saw your question here about multiple LinkedIn profiles. No, never, ever. Don't do it. Bad. Slap yourself on the hand. Don't do it. You want one profile, because you put everything in your profile of who you are. And then when would it confuse somebody? Yeah, if you don't know what you want to do, that'd be one thing. But yeah, you only want to have one profile. And if you have a split personality, or you have 2 different areas you're going for, you just have to list both things. I mean, you just have to, put them all in there. And when you send that resume out, that's when you customize to make sure it's detailed. So, and I'm going to hang on here. So anybody who needs to drop off, you're welcome to drop off. Anybody else who wants to hang on, I can hang on for another few minutes, and
Thanks, Jeff.
Until 9 o'clock in the morning.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're very welcome, Jed.
David, thank you.
Thanks, Jed. Good to see you.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Good night.
Hey, Jeff, quick question for you.
Yeah.
So Ed Hightower, I think I did find him on LinkedIn. But do you have contact? And so I've reached out to connection request, used your name. Is there, do you have any direct contact details for him that you could share? Or
Yep, hold on. Let me look it up in my phone. Give me a second here. Come on, phone. Oh, I thought I had it. I guess I don't have it here. If you can shoot me an email, I have his email address. I can send, well, let me look it up here. Hold on. I can multitask here. Let me see here. Ed Hightower, ed dot, so ed dot, oh, here, let me see if I can just copy it and stick it in the chat box. Nope. So it's ed period HIGHTOWER,
Yeah.
Ed Hightower at IOT and ANDbeyond.com.
oh, okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
So I thought I had his phone number too, and I probably do, but I'm not sure.
I mean,
Yeah, you'll reach out. Yeah, I
I'll reach
know
out.
that I think they have their meeting It was supposed to be last Friday. I don't think, but I don't know if they're meeting yet in person.
Yeah, no, it was the third Friday of every month, and so and then when everything shut down, I basically just some things I'm finding the Zoom links to, and I'm reaching out to people to reconnect with them. So that was one that I enjoyed, and I thought was a good session. So. By the way, do you want the Tech Titans calendar of stuff, or is there?
You know, yeah, you're welcome to send it to me. I mean, I'll pick and choose what events I put on the calendar, just depending if it's, open. If there's no cost for those events, I'll stick them on there. I don't tend to put events that cost money.
Yeah, they tend to be $10 to $25. So if you belong to the organization, it's $10, and if you don't, they're doing it for $25. So
Yeah, I think most people in Tech Titans know about it. They know what's happening.
yeah. So, all right.
Anything else? Anybody else? Galaxy S10 Plus. You're oh, here. I guess let me turn off the recording so you unhide yourself, maybe.